Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial. In this tutorial I will show you how to make a rewind system just like a braid, okay, the reverse time, and I will make that inside Unreal Engine 5, and this time it's not a blueprint. Yes, sorry, it's not a blueprint, it will be a C++ thing. So if you like a blueprint thing, just throw me a comment inside the video. I will do that later on. So I will do this inside C++. So the idea about reverse time and rewinding, if I play, for example, on every tick, it's recording the position and the rotation of the player, and he can rewind and go back to that position at that certain time. So I need now an action. So for example, go to the input, and before I record that, it's an easy thing. I'll call this IA record, and it's just right click input, make an input action. I call this IA record. Okay, so when the player press that button, it will start record. Okay, so and the input mapping context, by default I add that and assign the H, okay, on the keyboard. Okay, so that part has been done. I go back to the C++ classes, and I have created, it's by default I have already, because this project is already C++, so I have this default class. So this class is actually called a gameplay character, this one, and I will do this system as a component. So the reason I'm doing this as a component, because it's more modular, and I can attach that component to any actor or any character in the future. So it's give me that flexibility. So reverse time component, it's a actor component. So to speed up things, I did that before I record. It's just right click, new C++ class, and it's not type of an actor, it's an actor component. That an actor component can attach to any actor in your scene, as a character, as a pawn, as a character, or an actor. Okay, so this actor component I call next, I call this reverse time component. Okay, so now I have opened the IDE. Now I do two things. So I will add the reverse time component. So this will be in the public section. Let's call this U property, and it will be visible anywhere. Blueprint, just read only, and we'll call this as a category. I will call this reverse time, for example, as a category, and I will call this U reverse time component. Please include that for me, and I will call this reverse time component, or maybe comp. It's up to you. Okay, so I have add that. Now I need to go to the constructor itself and initialize that. So reverse time component is create a default sub object of U reverse time. Where are you? Reverse time component. There you are. And pass the text macro, and I will call this time component. Okay, so I have this component, this separate thing, and I have attached that in the header file, and I initialize that inside my CPP. And since in the actor component, so anything about, let me go to the blueprints, this. So anything beneath that line will be an actor component. It's not a scene component, so it's no need to set up attachment for that. So it's just initialize that. Now I need to go back to the gameplay character itself, the header one, and I also did that as this thing, as these action. Okay, you input action, and I call that an action rewind. Okay, before I record that, I made a U property also, just like this one. I copy that, and I call this action rewind, because I need to make a binding to basically on two functions, and the two functions will basically turn on and off a bool variable. So let me do this. Let me call U property, for example. Let me do this, edit anywhere, blueprint, read write and give that category of reverse time. Okay, and I will call this as a bool b can rewind, and it's by default it's set to false. Okay, so I will create two functions and it will call by this on off. Okay, it basically will set that on off, and who is listening by tick this component. Okay, now let me create these two functions and I will call void start rewind, and the other one is called void please stop rewind. Okay, so I have two functions, and all these functions are doing, let me alt and generate all these classes, and all this one is when it start rewinding is just make that bool variable true, so b can rewind is equal to true, and the other one, let me copy this and paste, and this will be as a false place. Okay, so basically when I press that key, please start rewinding, and this will be called true, and when I release my button, stop rewinding, and this will be false. And on every tick, this component are listening. If it's true, rewind. If it's false, record. Okay, so this is all about that. So let me go to the component and hook that inside this. Let me copy this. Why not? Let me copy that, and I need to assign now action rewind, and on trigger please call me the start rewind. Okay, when it's triggered, let me copy now and paste, and now when I released, which is called completed, but basically it's released the button stop rewinding. Okay, so now when I press that key, please start rewinding and make that bool, where are you, make that bool variable to true, and when I release my button, okay, make that false. That's all it's doing, and who is listening by tick is this component. Okay, and since I attached that component, let me go back, this has been initialized in that component. Okay, so let me jump now to the reverse time component. So the reverse time component is responsible for reversing time and basically is storing all the positions and the rotation of the character or any actor that has been attached to. So I need some limitations. So let me do this. View property edit anywhere, because I need to edit that anywhere, and call this, sorry, blueprint read write, and give that a category. Why not? Reverse time, for example, and I will call this float record time, and this will be my limitation. I will give that 4 seconds. Okay, I recommend you not going above 5 seconds. It will depend on your CPU, because it will keep storing and increase that array. I will show you. Let me do this. I need now 2 containers. First of all, as a T array, and this will store all the locations of the characters. It's the container, and this is will call the positions. And the next one is also T array, and it's time on F rotator, and this will store all the rotations. Okay, so this component, all it has 3 properties. This is the limitation, how recording time, how many record time do I need, and this will store all the positions of the player, and this will store all the rotations of the player based on that time. Okay, now I need to do the magic, so I need to make 2 functions. Maybe I call this U function, why not, blueprint callable, and leave that just blueprint callable. Now I need the void, and basically I will do this record and Let me copy this, and this will do rewind, please. Okay, so on every tick I'm checking by the play. Let me go up and generate this, generate declaration, and I will do this. Okay, so on every tick, this component, everything can be ticked inside Unreal. So even that component is ticking, and on every tick I'm check for the player if he pressed that key. If you press that key, okay, rewind me. If you didn't press that key, okay, record. So by default, when I play, I didn't press any key, so he is recording. As soon as I hit the rewind key, okay, go back and rewind me. Okay, so let me do this inside the tick. Let me first, I need to check if the player itself has been rewinded. So I need to get the owner. Okay, so I will do this if a gameplay character, which will be the same one. I will call this a player. Why not? I need to do a cast. You can do this in either two ways. I will show you. As a gameplay character, you can do from the gameplay statics and get player character, or you can do this, since this as an owner, you can this get owner, and this will be a valid thing, because since this component is a subcomponent from this character, so it has an owner. Who is owning this component? The character itself. So I'm casting, please get me that owner and cast that to my a game player character. So if that cast succeed, now I need to check. The check is now if the player has pressed that and say B can rewind. If the player itself press that button and he make that rewind thing is true, now it's time to call the rewind function. Okay, so when he released else please, and when he didn't press, or by default when he start, this variable is false. Please record that time for me. Okay, so if I go back to the player character, when I start rewinding, this will make that bool go back to true, but by default on begin play this is false. So on every tick, this component checking that, and since that is rewind is false, I'm start recording. Please record the position and the rotation of the player. So let me do that. So let me do the record. Okay, now the record, I need first of all to check, limit that positions and rotations from going on and on and on every tick, and it will be flooded, and it could crash your CPU after maybe, who knows, 2-3 minutes. So I need to limit that. So I will create two variables to compare with. It basically will be in 32, and it will be the max positions in time, and since that variable will be compared with the array that I have, so I need to round that. So I say f math round to int, and who is the rounding is the record time divided by get world and get me the delta seconds. Okay, so the record time is 4 seconds. Dividing by that delta time will get me that max positions. Let me copy this and redo that again. Copy, and now I will call this rotations. Okay, capital that, and now I need to check Now I say if that positions array, that container that I have all my positions dot num, how many positions that I have, it's if it's greater than the max positions in time, and the rotations dot num is also greater than max rotations in time. If is that the case, now I need to remove from that array. I will show you in the editor, I promise. Now I need to go to positions, and please, now if you passed that time, now it's time to remove. Don't keep increasing that array. So I say positions dot remove at, please. And who I'm removing? I'm removing the last index. So basically I'm going to remove the positions dot num by -1. Okay, let me do the rotation, and basically it's removing the last one. Sorry, remove at, I will say, not that, rotations dot num -1. Okay, so remove that for me, please. Now if it's not that, now it's time to add that positions. It's time to do the recording itself. So if that, say else, and now it's time to say positions, and please add that as an insert, that at get owner, and say get actor location, and since the player is the owner, it will has an actor location. I'm storing his location at index 0, and I will do the rotations dot insert at, do this please, insert. Okay, and I will say get owner, get actor rotation at index 0. Okay, so let me redo this, and on record by default it will be called, because I'm doing that, hit that keyboard. So I need to check. First of all, I need to check if it's not greater than that max position in time. Okay, start adding to that array. As soon as this array get to that max position, okay, start removing from these positions. Okay, you can make that, in fact, you can make that, for example, you can make this, please store me just to 200, for example, and you make this. Okay, you can make that, and this will be a valid thing. Okay, or you can make as this. Okay, and if it's not that case, if it doesn't meant to be that, if it's less than max positions, okay, insert that into my array in that two containers, the positions and the rotation. Now it's time to rewind. So the rewinding, now I need to check. First of all, always check if I have something, in fact, if I have something in my position and rotation. If I say positions dot num is greater than 0, and also I need to check the rotations dot num is also greater than 0. If I in fact I have some positions and rotations, then rewind me please. So if that's the case, I will say, sorry, get owner, and I will say set actor location, and now it's time to set that actor location on position at index 0. Okay, and I will say get owner, set actor rotation, and it will be on rotations of index 0. Okay, and also when I do this, as soon as I do this, I will remove that from my array. So I say positions dot remove, sorry, remove at index who index 0. Okay, and also rotations dot remove at index 0. Okay, so when I say rewind, please check if I have a positions more than 0, if I have something in my container that has stored my positions and my rotations. Okay, set the actual location of that owner, which has been this character, to that position of the index 0. And when you do that, immediately remove that index, remove that position, and when also do that rotation and also remove that. And the next time we'll do this and keep removing that on and off. So let me do this and say if there is any so basically we can comment that if okay, let me rename this. If this array has some positions and rotations, okay, set that. Okay, and as soon as doing this, please remove the data, okay, that has been rewinded, rewind from the array. Okay, so basically this is about the rewind. Now when if the positions, now if it's greater, now in the case if it's not, now I need to make an else statement. So I will say now if let me copy that. Why not? Let me copy. If I had that before, let me do this. Copy that, paste that. Now I need to, if it's now the positions is not greater than that, so I need to stop the rewind. So I will say this, and I will call please player stop rewind. Okay, now it will stop the rewind. So let me compile now and see. So it has been successfully compiled. Now let me walk through you this code again. So I have this component that has been attached to this character, okay, and on every tick this component are listening for this player, saying, hey, please, are you rewinding? Are you rewinding? If it's false, record. If it's true, rewind. Okay, so on that I'm binding start rewind and stop rewind. Okay, and all it's doing is setting that true and false. As soon as it will be true, please call the reverse time rewind function, and if it's false, stop rewind and call the record, and I'm binding that to that action. Okay, so on the reverse time component, on every tick I'm getting the player. Maybe it's now I'm making that as a const, why not? So I'm getting the player, I'm getting that from the owner, and since this component has an owner, it will be the owner, and the owner is the gameplay character, it will be valid, so this cast will be successfully passed. So on every tick I'm checking, hey, the player, can you rewind? If it's that case, okay, go and rewind. If it's false, go record. So by default on begin play, he's not rewinding, he's recording. As soon as I hit that key, it will make that rewind true, and it will call that function rewind. So when I say record, okay, let me do this to these variables, and this will be my comparison. Okay, so I am comparing these numbers with that. So I will cap that limitation on going on unlimitless. Okay, so I will remove these positions if if that number get past more than max positions in time. Okay, you can, as I told you, you can remove that and make your specific number, maybe 200 or 100 position. Okay, and if it's that not the case, okay, it's time to store that positions. Please on insert that positions, insert that the position of the owner get actor location at index 0. Okay, now I am storing that as a record. As soon as the player hit rewind on that keyboard, okay, this will be won't fire and this will fire. Okay, now I need to check. Always check, it won't hurt you. It's saying if the position is .num more than 0 and the rotations.num, these two containers is more than 0. Okay, get me now the owner and set actor location and the rotation at these positions. And when you set that actor location and position, please remove that. This is important. Please remove that from that array, so it's no longer be that, it won't be in that array, so it will be removed. And if that not the case, okay, get me that actor player, the owner, and stop rewind. Okay, so let me go to the engine and see if that, let me compile. I need to compile. So when I open the third person character, which is inherited from gameplay character, I have this reverse time component, and as you see I have this section called reverse time. I call this record time to 4 seconds and positions and rotations. These are the two containers. Okay, and my variable is not showing because I need to go to this icon and show inherited variables, and basically it's called in the section reverse time. Yes, can rewind, because I will show you later on how we will hook this inside the animation blueprint. So let me go back and now let me check if I have that class default and make an input section. I already hooked this inside the action rewind and close this. So if I now hit play, now I am playing, and when I hit, it's by default now it's recording my positions and rotation, and when I hit the H key, please, now it's called rewind, and it will rewind me to that 4 seconds. Okay, to that 4 seconds. Now let me do the animation, because when you play, for example, when you play it doing this, okay, it's repositioned and don't play any nice animations. So let me do the animations. So if I go, let me search for the animations, characters, mannequins, animations, many. I made that before I make that video. It's the forward one. It's called this. For if I open that, it's, he is by default running forward. Okay, so I made a duplicate from that, and I will call this as a reverse, and I negate that value, the rate scale. So by default it's 1, it's forward, so I say please go backward, -1, and save and close that. And now I need to go to the animation itself, animation blueprint. Okay, open that animation blueprint, and I need to go to the anim graph, and inside my main state, from the local motion itself, I will add that. So let me say run please, and run this reverse animation, and I need now a variable that be triggered if he can rewind or not. So this state will be fired. So let me call this can rewind, and let me make this transition from this state to this state and do this, and if it's that the case, it will be not boolean, go back to that local motion, and when that be true, it will be like this. Okay, so if I go back to the event graph, and I believe is not casting to that, so I need to cast also to that cast to third person character, and I will store that as a third person character. Okay, let me do this and promote this as a third person, and this has been cast. Let me make a sequence, I believe. Let me make a sequence on event tick as a sequence, sorry, as a sequence, and I need to check first of all if it's valid. Is valid. Now if it's valid, now I need to check and make this variable to true if he can rewind. Okay, now get me that variable and set that to can rewind. When I press that key, trigger that and transition, but even that won't work. I will show you. If I go, let me compile that and play. If I do this and press H, it will do this and it will be just like that. Okay, so I need to do another check. First of all, I need to go to the local motion itself and this animation and make this animation loop, compile so it's looping, and also I need to another check. I need another check. I need to get the positions. So give me the positions, please. Oh, first of all, I need to get the component itself. So get me the reverse time component, and from that, give me the positions of that. And if the length is more than 0, then make that bool variable to true. So I need to check if the player can rewind, and also the positions if I have some positions inside this array. So make this as an and hook this and play. Now it will be valid. Okay, so I will check if he can rewind and also check for the reverse time component. In fact, if there's more than, if the length is more than 0 inside these positions. Okay, so let me play now. I will do this and I will hit the H keyboard. I will do this and it will be like that. So I have successfully done this. Has been a long video. I know it has been a long video. So let me rewind. Let me rewind all this code, not just the player character itself. So when I press H, please do this. He rewinding his animation also, and as soon the positions is 0, and it needs to be as an and. These both need to be true. Okay, so when he can rewind, and if there is in fact some positions in my array, trigger that and switch to that state. So play. When I hit H keyboard now, I'm still pressing an H keyboard. Okay, I'm doing this. So when when there is no positions, and let me hit Alt S and eject and select this character. I will show you. If I select, let me maximize that, and I will say reverse time, and see all these positions. It has been increased. Okay, so this is why I told you to need to cap that by this record time. You can cap that by record time when you divide that by the delta seconds, or you can limit that by a certain amount of number, maybe not more than 200 or 300. Don't go above 250. This is my recommendation. And even don't do this technique if you are making a mobile game. I don't recommend you to do this because it's taking too many positions and it can be very hit on your CPU. So see, it can be gone before. If you just watch this number, it's going on and it will be paused. Okay, so let me close and repeat the last time. I know it's taking too long, but let me rewind my code, not just the player. So let me go back. So I created two things, the reverse component and attached that to the gameplay character. Okay, the reverse time, it has all the responsibility. It has a record time, how many record time I need to record, these positions and these rotations, and these are T arrays. These will store the player location and this one will store the player rotation, and on every tick I am checking on every tick, get the player please, and since I am the owner it will be valid, and check saying, hey, the player, have you pressed the rewind key? By default on gameplay, no, I didn't, so go to record please, and on every tick this will be going to the record and I will do a record. First of all, I need to check if it's not greater than the max position. Okay, if it's that case, if it's greater than, remove the last index and keep removing that until you had this number is equal to that number. And if that passed, okay, now it's time to record the position itself. So I am inserting the owner get actor location at that position and storing the rotation at that rotation array. Okay, when that has been reached more than the max position in time, okay, it's time to remove that on every tick. This is happening on every tick, so remove that. And when it's less, okay, go and add. If it's greater, remove, and so on and so forth. So as soon that player, and this is I told you as he's listening for every tick, as soon he is watching the player, if he can rewind, so this will be fire, please rewind, and the rewind is going back. It's just like a save game. Save that location and restore that location and rotation. So now I need to check if there is in fact some positions in my array and also in some rotations in my rotation array. If both are valid, okay, now set that actor to that position by index 0, the first one, and remove that. This is super important. Please remove that as soon as I restore that location. Remove that from my array. And if it's no longer, if it's not that, please stop rewind. Okay, if that condition, if I don't have any positions or any rotations, okay, please stop rewind, and this will be called stop rewind, and set B can rewind to false and go back to the record time. Okay, and I'm binding that by start rewind and stop rewind. As soon the player hit that key, it will start true and this will start to false, and on every tick reverse time is listening for that. So basically this is how you can make a rewind function inside Unreal Engine with C++. So it's a long video because it's a rewind system, why not? So I hope you enjoy in this video, and I see you in the future videos. So bye.